Thank you, Brian. Well, how old is too old to have your driver's license? That's what we're discussing with Nainesh Kotak from Kotak Law, and this stems from an incident in Vancouver.
That's correct. So, we don't know the full specifics as to why the driver sort of went over to the grass and struck 10 people. We do know they're a senior, but we don't know if it was a medical reason. But it does bring up that, and excuse the pun, the age-old question as to should there be a limit on an age, a cap to drive, and what testing should there be after the age of 80. So currently, when you turn 80, and you have to have a test every 2 years. But this is not a driving test, so there's no requirement for a written or a road test unless specifically requested in the circumstances. So what's done is an eye test to see how the vision is. They watch a video for about 20 minutes on sort of safety things. And there's a mini cognitive test, which is simply this: drawing a clock, putting the numbers on the clock, and being told to put 11:15 or whatever time they pick.
And that's an Alzheimer's test or a dementia test.
It's sort of the beginnings of identifying some early dementia. But again, sure, that's relevant to driving, of course, but it's not specific to driving. It doesn't look at, there's no testing then to look at, how are the reflexes? Is there enough cognitive ability to actually interpret all the senses that are around you while you're driving? And that's what is, in my opinion, this is what is lacking. Look, there's no question there's a lot of good drivers over the age of 80. There's a lot of bad drivers who
under the age of 20
or even at any age.
Yeah.
But the fact is, we do know as we age, our cognitive abilities decline, as does our reflexes and our ability to do some physical activities, which would include driving. Now, there's a lot of studies out. There's a 2015 study from the American Automobile Association that says, look, seniors are outliving their ability to drive by 7 to 10 years. There's a Transport Canada study from 2000 and 2015 that found seniors had the highest fatalities compared to other groups. So we're looking at not only the safety of the driver, the senior driver, but also others on the road. I wouldn't advocate for an absolute cap. I think that there are individual circumstances. People who are younger could have their license taken away for health reasons, and if MTO is notified by a physician. But I do think there should be a road test and a written test, and it doesn't have to be on the computer because a lot of people who are elderly are not computer literate. I think there should be that every 2 years just to protect those who are seniors above the age of 80 who are driving, and certainly protect pedestrians, cyclists, and others who are on the road. Look, it's my father, before he passed, he had his license taken away, and we all have relatives and, uncles, aunts, grandparents who we may see in that similar situation.
And we think, oh, should they be driving? and we talked earlier, about, there are graduated licenses for new drivers. Exactly. Perhaps that could be something, where you have to drive with someone. All these are good food for thought, because we know the new drivers, you have the G1 and the G2. You're not going to be fully fledged on the full roads at all hours until you pass that graduated. Look, there certainly are grandparents in their 70s who are looking after kids. They're driving. They've been driving for a long time. So I wouldn't advocate this going much younger, but I think there's something about that when people turn 80, some certain deficits certainly surface. Not on everybody, of course, and I'm not suggesting that there should be a cap on licenses. But again, having more testing when you hit the age of 80, I think, is the sensible thing to do. Good talk. We could talk for half an hour about this, and I'm sure our viewers are going to be discussing it as well. Nainesh Kotak from Kotak Law, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.